Let's talk about confidence, Season 2, Episode 10. Saying no to the wrong things. Welcome to Let's Talk About Confidence. I'm John M. Walsh. Today we're talking about something that capable people struggle with more than almost anything else. The word no. 2 letters, 1 syllable. Extraordinarily difficult to say, especially for people who've built their identity around being helpful, reliable and available. Most people think saying yes makes them a good person, a team player, someone who can be counted on. But it doesn't. Saying yes to everything makes you exhausted, even resentful, and unavailable for what actually matters. Every yes to something that doesn't matter is a no to something that does. So this episode is about learning to say no clearly, without guilt, without over-explaining and without apology. When you say yes to something that you don't want to do, you're not just being accommodating, you're making a trade. Your time for someone else's convenience, your energy for someone else's comfort, your priorities for someone else's expectations, and your well-being for someone else's approval. That trade might feel small in the moment, but it compounds. 1 yes becomes 10, 10 becomes 50, and eventually you look at your calendar, your commitments, your life, and none of it reflects what you actually want. You're busy, but not fulfilled. You're needed, but not nourished, and you're helpful to everyone except yourself. So let me tell you about someone I worked with. She's called Rachel. Rachel's a senior manager at a professional services firm. She was known as the person who got things done. Need someone to lead a difficult project? Ask Rachel. Need someone to fill in at short notice? Ask Rachel. Need someone to mentor the new graduates? Ask Rachel. And Rachel said yes, every time, because that's who she was. That's how she'd built a reputation. When she came to me, she was exhausted. Not the tiredness that rest fixes, something deeper. She told me, I'm succeeding at life I didn't choose. Every hour of my day belongs to someone else's priorities. That's what happens when you can't say no. You end up living a life designed by other people's requests. And there's a cognitive dimension to this worth understanding. Every commitment you make occupies mental bandwidth, what psychologists call cognitive load. Even things you're not actively doing take up space because your brain's tracking them. When you say yes too much, you're not just losing time, you're fragmenting your attention, draining your decision-making capacity, and leaving nothing for what genuinely matters. Saying no isn't about just protecting time, it's about protecting mental clarity. If saying no protects your time and energy, why is it so difficult? Because most people were taught that saying no is rude, it's selfish, very disappointing, you're unkind and you're ungrateful and you're just being difficult. So they learned to say yes, even when they meant no, and they learned to apologise for having limits, needs or preferences. The result, a life full of obligations that don't serve them, and a quiet resentment they're not allowed to talk about. The guilt trap is real. But they needed me. I don't want to let them down. What if they think I'm selfish? I should be able to help. Here's the truth about guilt. Guilt is useful when you've violated your values. Guilt is not useful when you've honoured your boundaries. If you feel guilty for saying no too much, to something that drains you, to something that misaligns with your values, or takes time from what matters, that's not real guilt, that's conditioning. Someone somewhere taught you that your needs come last, that your job is to make other people comfortable. That saying no makes you a bad person. And they're wrong. Let me be specific about where this conditioning comes from. For some people it's family, being the reliable one, the one that keeps the peace, the one who never makes waves. For others, it's early career. Learning that advancement comes from being available, agreeable, indispensable. For many it's gender. Women in particular are socialised to prioritise others' comfort over their own needs and punished socially when they don't. Whatever the source, the pattern's the same. You learn that saying no has consequences, and your nervous system learned to avoid those consequences by saying yes, even when it costs you. Here's the neuroscience that might change how you handle guilt. Neuroscientist Jill Bolt-Taylor discovered that the chemical lifespan of an emotion in the body is roughly 90 seconds. The cascade of stress hormones, the physical sensations, they flush through in about a minute and a half. After that, any remaining emotional response is you re-triggering it through your thought. You replaying the story, rehearsing the guilt, extending what would naturally pass. So when you say no and feel that wave of discomfort, know this. If you can sit with it for 90 seconds without feeding it with stories, it will pass. Guilt isn't permanent. The discomfort isn't permanent. Your nervous system will settle. What keeps people trapped isn't the initial feeling. It's the narrative loop that follows. They're going to think I'm being difficult. I should have said yes. What if they don't ask me next time? I'm just being selfish. Each thought re-triggers the emotional response. You're not feeling the original guilt anymore. You're manufacturing new guilt by thinking about the guilt. Here's the practice. When you say no and the discomfort arrives, notice it, name it. This is the guilt response. Then do nothing. Don't argue with it. Don't justify your decision again. Don't apologise preemptively. Just let 90 seconds pass. Most of the time, the feeling will fade on its own. What remains is usually manageable. And each time you prove to yourself that you can tolerate the discomfort of saying no, the discomfort gets smaller. Most people, when they say no, they say it badly. They over-explain. They apologise excessively. They leave the door open when they want it closed. They make it sound like they might change their mind if enough pressure's applied. That's not a no. That's a maybe disguised as a no. And it doesn't protect you. It just delays the conversation. A clear no sounds like this. I can't take that on right now. That doesn't work for me. I'm not available for that. I'm going to have to pass. No, but thank you for thinking of me. Notice what's missing. Long explanations, detailed justifications, apologising for having limits. You don't owe anyone a detailed account of why you're saying no. I can't as a complete sentence. That doesn't work for me as a complete sentence. Here's what happens when you over-explain. You give the other person material to argue with. Every reason you offer is an invitation to problem solve. I can't because I have another commitment. What if we moved it to next week? I can't because I'm too busy. It won't take long. I can't, I'm exhausted. You can do it from home. The more reasons you give, the more openings you create. A simple, clear, unelaborated no is harder to argue with. Not impossible. Some people push anyway, but you're not responsible for their response. You're responsible for your answer. And here's something important. A clear no is actually kinder than a reluctant yes. If you say yes when you mean no, you're bringing resentment to whatever you've agreed to do. You're doing the thing badly or late or with energy that signals you didn't want to be there. A clear no respects both of you. It respects your limits. It respects their right to find someone who can actually say yes with genuine availability and desire to do it. Not everything deserves a no. Part of confident boundary setting is discernment, knowing which request to accept and which to decline. Here are the categories of requests that almost always deserve a no. Requests that violate your values. If someone's asking you to do something that conflicts with what you believe, whatever that's ethical, personal, professional, that's a hard no. You don't need another reason. Requests that come from people who only appear when they need something. You know those relationships, silent for months, then suddenly urgent when they want a favour. Saying yes reinforces the pattern. Saying no reveals the truth about the relationship. Requests that assume your time is less valuable than theirs. Last minute asks, vague briefs, tasks that could easily be done by someone else but are being handed to you because you're available and agreeable. These requests aren't respecting your capacity. They're exploiting it. Requests that you've already said no to. Some people don't hear no the first time. They come back with a slight variation, hoping you'll eventually give in. The answer to repeated requests is the same answer you gave before, just firmer. Requests that trigger immediate internal resistance. Sometimes your body knows better than your mind does. The tightening in your chest, the sinking feeling, the thought, I really don't want to do this. Pay attention to that signal. It's usually accurate. Let me offer a useful filter. Before you say yes to a request, ask yourself 2 questions. First, if I say yes, what am I saying no to? Every commitment has an opportunity cost. What will you not be able to do because you've agreed to this? Second question, if this person never asked me for anything again, would I be relieved? If the honest answer is yes, that tells you something about the relationship and whether it deserves your yes. Saying no is a skill, and like any skill, it develops with practice. If you spent years saying yes by default, you won't be comfortable with no overnight. But you can start building the muscle. Start small. Say no to low-stake requests when the consequences are minimal. The extra meeting that doesn't need you, the favour that's genuinely inconvenient, the social commitment you don't want to attend. Each small no is evidence. Evidence that you can set a boundary and survive. Evidence that relationships don't collapse. Evidence that the guilt passes. Then gradually raise the stakes. Say no to requests that matter more. To people whose opinions you care about. To situations where there might be pushback. Your nervous system will object at first. It's been trained to treat no as dangerous, as a threat. But with repeated evidence that no is survivable, it will start to recalibrate. One technique that helps, prepare your no in advance. If you know a request is coming, decide before the conversation how you'll respond. Script it if you need to. When they ask me about the project, I'm going to say, I'm not able to take that on right now. Having the words ready reduces the cognitive load in the moment. You're not trying to formulate a response while managing the social pressure. You're simply delivering what you've already decided. Another technique, delay your response. You don't have to answer immediately. Let me check my commitments and get back to you. It buys you time to consider properly, away from the pressure of the moment. Most yeses that people regret are yeses given too quickly, before they'd thought through the implications. Here's what I'd like you to take from today. Saying no is not unkind, it's not selfish, it's not difficult behaviour. Saying no is how you protect your capacity for the things that actually matter. Every yes to something that drains you is a no to something that can fulfil you. If you've been the person who always says yes, the reliable one, the available one, the one who never lets anybody down, I'm not asking you to become unhelpful. I'm asking you to become selective. Start this week. Find one request, just one that you would normally say yes to, out of obligation, and say no instead. Notice the guilt, 90 seconds, let it pass, and observe what happens. Most of the time, what happens is nothing. The world continues, the relationship survives, and you have a little more of yourself back. That's not selfish, that's sustainable. I'm John M. Walsh. This is Let's Talk About Confidence. I'll see you next time.